here you can have the particle right here. And this particle right here is created by the wave. This particle is created by the collapse of the wave. Okay, here we have a particle, right, that represents mass. Now, since this is the present, alright, because we see everything solid, alright, the particle form. Now, in the present, we see mass. In the past, there was a wave which collapsed into a particle. Alright, in the past, there was a wave that collapsed into the present particle. Alright, this is the present and this is the past. The past is represented by the wave. Right? Now, the waves cannot collapse. The wave is connected to the particle. The past is connected to the present. There is no time frame. There's no timeline. Alright? There's no such thing as time. The present and the past are interconnected. The previous now, which is right here. Here's the previous now, and this is now. Now, previous now. That's time. The present and the past is connected. There's 2 points, but 2 points are 2 locations. Where is the physical dimension of 2 locations? A line. Where is the line between here and here? These are just 2 different locations, 2 different events. There's no physical structure when it comes to 2 different points. The only difference between the now and the previous now is the act of motion. But in order to understand our physical reality, our physical presence of mass, we describe the 2 points of 2 locations as a line, which is a dimension. The act of motion occurs here, the act of motion occurs here. But in reality, there's no physical structure between these 2 locations. But we describe that the x equals length equals time. That's your length, and that's your width, and that's your height. Just the 3 dimensions. This is y, this is z, 3 dimensions. But in reality, all you have is a set of different locations with nothing physical in between in the real sense. Now that we got this thing, the conscious state, breaks, collapses the wavelength. So here you have a constant state here, which causes the wavelength to collapse into a physical form, a particle. Here you have a constant state, which collapses the wave into a particle. Energy equals a wave and a particle, but requires an observer, a conscious observer, in order to collapse the wave into a physical particle. But the physical particle is nothing more than a location which is composed of a vibrating pulse. Here, that's all it is a vibrating pulse. Now, the constant state, let me do this. So again, you have the particle and the wave, the collapse of the wave, and here's the wave, and here's the present, and here's the past. It's interconnected. There's no timeline. It's just two different locations, two different events. There's no time between here and here. It's just connected by an act of motion. The act of motion creates the act of time. But time is not dimensional. All it is an act of motion. Now, since the observer collapses the wave, the observer, since the waves are just probable states, an observer is here. Now, the reason you have a chair, for example, here, a chair that you sit on right now. Here you have a chair. The only reason you have a chair is because you have an observer. Awareness. That's the reason you have a chair, because awareness is present. Observer, conscious awareness. Alright, awareness. Now, the chair only exists because you have an observer. Awareness. Hang on. Alright. So, here you have it. You have a wave that collapses into a particle, which is collapsed by an observer. Now, the way you could explain that, a particle represents anything physical, but it's not really physical because it's just a vibrating pulse. But just so you can understand this, let's do it this way. The observer collapses the wave, and that's the reason you see the particle. In other words, that's why you see the chair. The chair only exists because a room exists. Here. It's connected. You have the observer, you have the chair, you have the chair because of the observer, and you have the room because of the chair, and vice versa. Anyway, then you have the galaxies, the Earth, because you have a room, because you have a chair, because you have an observer. Now, the reason you have the Earth is because you have a galaxy. So it goes right back. Again, you have the galaxy because you have the Earth. You have the Earth because you have a room because of a chair, and a chair because there's an observer which collapsed the wave into a particle chair. Now, basically what this ends up being is this goes all the way in and goes right here into the universe. The universe is right here. It began. Here. Particle. Alright? Universe began there at the here, because we see the physical nature of the universe, a particle. The only reason you have the particle here is because the wave collapsed. In other words, that's the reason you have the universe, is because the wave collapsed into its present form, a physical, illusional particle. Because it's not really a particle of object. It's just a location which occurs between here and here. Two vibrating pulses. Two particles vibrating creates a length. And two particles right here creates a length. And two particles here creates a length. Here's X, here's Y, here's Z. But there's no real volume there. All you have is three different sets of pulses creating the illusion of 3D. Alright? With 1D time. Which creates a 4D universe. Now, that is what this universe is. It's basically the present connecting to the past, affecting the past. There's no such thing as time. We create the act of time with the act of motion, which because it basically is the only way we can understand the world the way it is. That's the only way we could explain it, is by giving it structure. Giving it structure when there's no structure. That's the only way we could do in order to keep our sanity. Otherwise, who's to believe that this universe is not physical? They would think you'd be crazy if you say something like that. But the reality is that's exactly what it is. And so, but nobody wants to hear that, because they see the physical structure and they say it's mass, but in fact it's not. It's just a pulsing state, pair of states, different locations, creating the illusion of a length in time.